J squared.
Hey guys, welcome back to another podcast with Jess and Jordan.
Hi.
We're here in the second isolation, bringing you a whole bunch of new artists and music people in our scenes. And how have you been going, Jordan, since the break?
Look, Jess, I would much rather be out and about, enjoying my life, but here we are on the second lockdown. But look, gotta do what you gotta do. The quicker we follow the rules, the quicker we'll get out of it. So
yeah, definitely. I hope everyone's wearing their masks out there, of course, wearing cool ones.
Yes, definitely. So Jess, where are you at the moment? Because I know you're not in Melbourne.
Yeah, yeah. So I after exams came up to visit my family in New South Wales. So when I was going to come back, Victoria got locked down, so I decided to stay.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. It's been pretty good, you know. Yeah, I mean, it's almost like COVID doesn't even exist up here. Yeah, people are so just loose, which is also a bit scary, but, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm from Perth. I know what loose people are like, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's been good, you know, been out, got to have a few jams and things, but I've been seeing a few ISO jams on Instagram and stuff. I hope that we can keep that up. That'll be fun.
Yeah, it's really good. Like, it's crazy how, like, we're still keeping up with the music, I'm surprised how quick, like, companies and bands and stuff were able to make the transition. Like, I know from the classical side, like, MSO are like live streaming all their concerts and everything and like posting old archived concerts. So it's still good. Like, we're not missing out on the actual performance. So yeah, it's really good seeing so many bands like fitting into the online format.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it's crazy because it's going to be some weird mix of like this for a while, I think, you know. Yeah. Going to have to be online. But yeah, like venues are picking up like all of the live streaming and stuff, which is great, you know, and it's good. Getting people still playing. Album of the week! Play that thing. Play that thing.
So Jess, my album of the week is called Carreño. It's selected music for piano by the Venezuelan composer Teresa Carreño. It's funny because like in the classical world, women are also like at such a inequality as all the other music genres. Like you go to a random person in the street and say, name me a woman classical composer. No one's going to say anything. Do you know what I mean? Anyone can list Mozart, Beethoven off the top of their head, but like women composers, and even myself as a classical musician, I know that even I'm like uneducated about female composers. So my album is by this Venezuelan pianist. She's an amazing composer. She's done over 40 works for piano. It's like orchestral pieces. There's even like a crater in the moon named after her.
Oh, whoa.
Like,
what?
That's a pretty big deal and people don't even know about her.
Yeah,
so yeah, that's
crazy.
my album. My composer of the week. So definitely check her out. Her last name's spelled Carren with the little tilde on top and then O. So yeah, definitely give her a check.
Yeah, she sounds great. Yeah. So my album of the week is more of an EP called Los Angeles by a group called Her Songs. They're like 5 women that came together from all over the world to write this 4-song EP in 6 days in Los Angeles with an artist called Maddie J. She's got like great harmonies, like great musicianship, like all of my favorite neo soul drops. And they're all great artists on their own and they all have their own awesome stuff, and they've just released another EP together as well. But yeah, it's just fantastic, you know. They're just like women empowerment. It's awesome. Yeah.
So our special guest today is Martha Baartz. She's one of the leading women in the Australian jazz scene.
Yeah, Martha was one of my old teachers from when I was back home. You know, she's a beautiful lady. She's had an extensive career in performing all over the globe, playing festivals, touring with bands, her own stuff that she's been putting together in groups. So I'm really excited to have a chat with her. So let's get into it.
So Martha, What do you do in the industry? Like just some background into who you are, who you've played with, your involvement with the Australian music scene and all that kind of stuff?
Okay. Well, I'm primarily a saxophone player or a woodwind doubler, but primarily saxophone performer. As of late, I haven't been doing that at all. I've been missing it, but yeah, what I do is freelance session work. So most of the work I get at the moment is people call me to do something for them, whether it's playing in a show or just playing in a live gig or doing a recording session. I've been playing since I was about 16 years old, so I've been playing for 30 years. Yep. And I have run my own ensembles, and I still do, but I do less of that now because I'm quite busy with performing as a freelance artist. I've worked with people like Dan Sultan, Renee Gayer, Jimmy Barnes, Ian Moss, the Black Arm Band. I don't know if you know those guys, but that's actually not happening anymore, but that great Indigenous group of musicians was quite a big thing for a while. Archie Roach is part of that, but I didn't work with him on that show. And I've worked with lots of jazz greats, like in Melbourne, the Melbourne scene, like Andrea Keller, Bob Settergreen, Michelle Nicole, some really wonderful names that you probably have heard of. Paul Williamson. Yeah, great. He's a good friend of mine. Great player, big inspiration for me. The Sydney scene, people like Sandy Evans and in Brisbane now I work with a lot of vocalists. That's a big part of what I do. I love playing with vocalists because they take the limelight and I can just be the side person. I love that a lot. You know what it's like, Jess. You just want to work, don't you?
Yeah.
You just want to play.
Yeah, definitely.
You don't want to organise it.
No, definitely not.
So, and I play all styles. I didn't start with a jazz course. You know, I started I did my BA majoring in saxophone and music at a contemporary music course. And I was just really, really lucky. We had great instructors. So the guys from Crossfire, the Sydney fusion band, 70s, big in the 70s, they all moved up to the North Coast where I grew up. And they were moving up to retire. They were massive session players in Sydney. They were the guys. And they moved up, and then we were lucky they just ran that course. So we became involved with musicians like that who were working in the industry. So they sort of showed us the ropes and how to work in the industry, you know. Yeah, so that's a bit of my background.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to ask, like, have you always been passionate about jazz music, like jazz saxophone? But like you said, you know, you actually did your degree in contemporary. What made you like fall more in love with the jazz side?
Oh, that's a great question, Jordan. Well, look, I've always had it in me, I have to say that. Like, I was self-taught in the beginning because I grew up regionally, and so there were a couple of teachers, but I was a bit picky. I didn't really like how they sounded, so I was like, ugh, what do we do with this? So I was inspired when I was young by ads on the telly, like Fats Domino. I mean, he was a blues pop sort of player, but he had jazz musicians, and I heard the horns playing. My mother had a piano in the house all the time, so and she was into like the classic jazz pop stuff. So I was trying to teach myself to read music on the piano, and I was playing Blue Moon and things like that. Cry Me a River, In a Sentimental Mood, all that stuff was really inspiring to me. But I just wanted to play saxophone, so I didn't understand jazz, and I went and did this contemporary music course. And my saxophone teacher, the wonderful Tony Buchanan, Spoons, and he's living around Melbourne now.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to get a lesson off a legend, see Spoons. And he wasn't a jazz player either, you know. He was all about sound. He had the Joe Allard technique happening. It's all about sound and commercial and contemporary and fusion. And he was working. He was a session player. So I got inspired to play jazz at uni with some of the students who moved up from Sydney, because Sydney had a really strong jazz scene way back in the 90s. And the Sydney Con was really happening and producing great players. So some of the people who came up, the students, really loved jazz, and they were exposing me to jazz and sort of guiding me in that way. And that's when I went, wow, this is where I can have a voice as a saxophone player, you know, like this is where I can do all my discovery and investigation of music and really broaden my horizon. And so then I fell in love with jazz because I was being exposed to great jazz music by the students. Some of the teachers were into it, but it was mainly by these students coming up from Sydney. I was a young girl living in the bush, so I didn't really, I didn't grow up in this. You can relate to this, Jess, I know.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up in the city where it's all there for you. So I was just grasping at what I could find. And it was good in a way because I could create my own pathway, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. And so going off this, how did you make a career in performing? Like, did you have to overcome any major challenges? And did any of these, did you find like relate specifically to the gender issue in music and the jazz scene and things?
Yeah, well, I think I was lucky in the way where I lived, right? So firstly, as far as gender issues, I really didn't have a problem with it. I didn't see it as an issue until a bit later when I could see what was happening from the position I was in. But, my family were very arty. So my mother's a writer, my dad's an artist. They were like the black sheep of their conservative families. They moved to the bush, you know, and it was all about art and creating, and they shared responsibility with the kids and with working. They were also both teachers. So I was just a kid who could be artistic. There wasn't any sort of issue with that. Doing the course I did in the regional area, it didn't have the pressures. I didn't have that pressure of having my ass kicked, you know, like, you want to enter the jazz scene, you do a heavy jazz course, you're going to get your ass kicked. It's a really difficult situation. So I was in the bush, and regional course, the people that were attracted to the area to teach in that area of the Byron Bay area were generally open-minded people, right? So I didn't have the restriction of closed-minded teachers. And they were just there to have a good time. Now, they came up from Sydney and they were used to working. And what did they have? They didn't have really high calibre of students. So they had to work with people. There weren't many musicians in the area. And so they had to work with the students. So they had to train us to be able to work with them so they could do their gigs. And so it didn't matter if I was a girl or a boy, because you just had to be able to play a few good notes and then they would get you. So I was lucky that I got the experience, and I think if it would have been a different story if I had have gone straight to the Sydney Con, being a woman in that really sort of male-heady, in that era, I would have probably been pulled down a notch as opposed to being pulled up into it and getting that experience that every jazz musician needs. As I got older, and now particularly in my 40s, I see the imbalance in the scene, and I see what young women are potentially up against, especially in the city scene and in those real male-dominated scenes. So, I don't know, I was lucky. It was easy for me, got the experience I needed, so I was able to work out how to go about it, and I had the enough experience under my belt. Yeah, but I have had a lot of experiences in the past that I look back on and go, yeah, if I had been a guy, it would have been different. I wonder where I would be now if I had been a guy doing what I do with the amount of work I put into it. I put a lot of work into this. I practice still all the time. I know as a woman I've got to be impeccable, because I just know that. Because what happens is our image gets in the way So the other thing is I rarely wear dresses on stage or skirts. I wear pants because I'm trying to deflect from the fact that I'm a woman, because the brain, the subconscious gets in the way and people instantly go, woman, not going to be good enough. Possibly that's what's happening subconsciously. So that will get in the way of their thought, and then my confidence will go down as a player. It's such a bizarre world in that way.
Yeah, it's a really weird cycle, because like now we're introducing quotas into like festivals, or like some gigs, even like, you know, if you have a female player you can play this gig, but if you don't, then so it's like a it's like a weird kind of like in between now, where we're trying to make room, but also like by making room in this way it's kind of like contradicting it, because it's putting it down to, it's just like, oh, you're here just because you're a woman.
The level can't go down, that's the thing.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, we've been overlooked. The level is high. Women are amazing. And actually women bring other things that we haven't seen. That, you know, men traditionally are really strong physically, you know, energetic, and can sustain this sort of intensity. Women bring this other nuance that men don't particularly focus on. We've all got all of that. And it's just what we feel, if we're being honest when we play, it's what we naturally want to bring out. So what happens instantaneously when we're improvising, it's going to be, if we're being honest and true, which is what we need to connect to our audience, we're going to bring out that natural side. So I believe the world has missed out for all these years on the other side. I'm not saying it's technically better or technically worse. I'm saying we can all be incredible musicians if we will put that work in. Yeah. But it's very exciting era that we're in now. You talk about the quotas, and we have to bring those in, because we're not consciously, men and women are not consciously doing that. We're going, who's the guy? Who's the great guy? You know? Yeah. And we're still saying it, guys. But actually, if we look under those rocks, there's some amazing different stuff coming in from women. So it's so exciting in that way. Yeah, I'm really excited definitely for the future.
Yeah, I'm coming off that question, Martha, because I'm from a classical background. So like if you look at old videos of orchestras and albums, it's just all men. Like you will never see a woman. But now, obviously, there's more women. I was going to say, in your experience throughout the years, have you noticed there has been a significant change, like in the ratio between female and male musicians in the scene and behind the scenes as well?
Oh, yeah, there is. I don't know if it was actually the case that there were less of us. I think we're just being seen more, or we're being given the opportunities. And maybe if we didn't have that luck that I had sort of rose-coloured glasses. I was like, yeah, I can do this. I didn't even consider my sex, but I think there are many more women, and it's really exciting. Like some of these women, like Nubia Garcia, that great spiritual sound she's getting on that tenor, and that she's playing with such confidence. And Melissa Aldanas, the wonderful tenor player who surpasses anything I've heard on saxophone for a long time. Yeah, it's good. We've just got to shut down that preconceived idea of women aren't good enough, you know. You shut down that idea and just hear it, listen to it.
Yeah.
Then it's going to happen. And that's what's happening. We're pulling the women in. To address your question, Jordan, it's definitely, I'm sitting in big bands now with maybe there's 2 or 3 women where I was the only woman before. But the corporate scene, because as I've gotten older, I've gone more into the corporate scene because I've got a family. I need just the quick, good money. So I left my own projects, which is really great, and artistic and inspiring, and more, okay, go do the job. It's a trade. Bring home the bills, pay the bills. It's really closed, the corporate scene, you know. It's all about image. So what are the gigs I'm going to get in the corporate scene? I'm going to get like show band gigs or wedding gigs. The wedding gigs, small ensemble stuff, parties. The women are glitzed up singing at the front, and the band are the men in the dinner suits, right? How do I look in a dinner suit? It's not going to work because that's not what we wear. So how do I fit in that? I know for a fact that I haven't been asked to do a lot of gigs because I don't fit that image correctly. So, but that doesn't matter. You know, you network, you have good friends who are musicians, you do the best job you can do. Every gig you've got to play like it's the best gig. You've got to perform at your utmost best because you're only as good as your last gig. So if you want to work in the industry, you've got to remember that you're only as good as your last gig. And if you've made the people who've employed you happy, if you've ticked all the boxes, they will ring you again. And you may only get one call from them a year, but if you've got 50 people that you've worked for like that, and you get 50 calls a year, that's one gig a week. And there's a good chance that you're going to get more than one call a year. So, yeah. You can make it work for yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So talking about like all of your career, like your performing opportunities and things, you know, like how did you navigate finding all of these and like in the areas that you wanted to do? Because like obviously, you know, with the family and things, now you've moved more into like the trade side of it rather than, you know, following your the artistic creativity. But I know that you still have your sextet that you do, which is like really brilliant, and I was lucky enough to come and watch it last year. And you know, you've been accepted into the Dave Lieberman's masterclasses and, you know, all, you know, the Australian Real Book. So like, yeah, just how did you navigate trying to find all of these cool things and also maintain like?
Yeah, great question. Well, it's a journey. It's a journey, and I seized upon every opportunity. So if I heard of this happening, I would go, okay, I'm going to try it. You put in, as far as going and getting accepted into things, if you put out, they say if you put out for 10 things, you may get one thing. So you just put out for a lot. But I was project girl in the beginning. I was just like, I've got to do this, got to do this. So I'd make projects and I'd be in bands. I guess when I was quite young, I was in a band called Honky Trash, which was a costumed horn and percussion band, original band. It was fun. We started in Lismore and then we moved to Melbourne.
Oh, cool.
But with that band, we played Woodford Folk Festival a few times, and some agents from there saw us and they booked us a tour over in the UK. So I got to take my music to the UK. You meet people, you know. A friend of mine, when I was in New York, just sitting in on classes at the New School and George Garzone classes, I just was hungry for it, right? So I just wanted to learn. I spent a lot of my own hard-earned money on getting myself to places. I would rather work and earn the money than go and apply for grants. That's sort of how I did it. But I see the benefit in applying for grants, and I have received some grants with help from others. So I overseas, New York, just sitting in on classes, did the Dave Liebman workshop. I was playing a solo piece in his workshop because we all had to write a solo piece. It was a week-long workshop. And I was playing and the guest lecturer walks in, sits on the piano and starts playing with me. And then Liebman gets on the drums and starts playing with me. So I'm effectively doing a little gig with Dave Liebman and Phil Woods.
What?
You know, the alto player?
Yeah.
Who passed away. He was the guest lecturer and he's there playing piano with me.
Whoa.
So amazing. And I'm lucky. But we all have that. It's really about friends and good relationships, being good to each other, being honest, but in particularly being really good at your craft, working at your craft. Just work really hard, fix the issues, and stay true. Have integrity, stay true to who you are. So you don't have to play like someone else, you know, you've got to stay true to who you are. And your voice will get bigger and bigger and shine, and there'll be people out there who want to hear it. So,
Yeah, like it's funny you say that because I find the main, like everyone who we've interviewed when we kind of ask this kind of question, it's very take every opportunity you get.
Yeah.
Even if you're in the background, still take it because then it gives you that opportunity to network as well. So yeah, I think that's definitely like a main
And it's scary.
message.
It can be scary. You know, when I was quite young, I got a call to play in the festival sextet with Sandy Evans and all the women in Melbourne. And that, for me at that stage, was a big deal. And I was worried and scared, and, you know, I was going to play her original, she was going to play mine. But it's like, okay, I have to do it though. I have to do it. I cannot not do that, because that adds to who you are, but it also goes on your resume, and it helps with your future grant applications or getting gigs or people trusting that you're good for the job. So, yeah, take those opportunities, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I was going to ask if you have any more advice for tertiary students, but I think that we've covered most of it. But if you have anything else, like this is...
Tertiary students, your friends, you're learning more off your friends than you are off your lecturers. So just keep playing music together. Jam while you can, because at some point you're going to have to get out there and earn money, and you won't have the time to jam. So I know you've got assessments where you have to be playing together and all that. Make the most of that. Write music together if you can. Write music daily if you can. The stuff you're practicing right now, you will understand it better if you put it into the tunes you're writing. So you might be working on tritone substitutions or certain chord progressions. Write a tune with those chord progressions and see how that works. You might be working on certain patterns, intervals, intervallic ideas or combinations. Make that the head of a tune and do that. Put it into writing. That will really solidify what you're practicing. But also try and play with your lecturers if you can. I know that's hard, but you've got to really shine. The course you're doing, it's difficult because it's a heady course. It's a very prestigious course. It's not like I was at this little uni. They had to sort of use who they had. But work so hard and try and get some gigs happening with your lecturers. Employ great players to play in your band, because we, as horn players, what do you play, Jordan?
I'm a clarinetist.
Ah, there you go. Okay,
Yeah.
So you're a horn player.
Yeah.
A mini horn.
I guess, yeah. It's funny that the jazz lexicon is so different to how we talk. Like Jess the other day was talking to me and she's like, oh yeah, you know, she can play claz too. I was like,
Class.
of course a jazz musician would call it a claz, not a clarinet. Yeah.
I've heard it called the agony stick, but we won't go there. Sorry, no, I love the clarinet. I've been really getting into it lately. Yeah, so what you need to do is make sure you are playing with the best possible musicians you can. Don't play with assholes, though. Excuse my language. They don't deserve it. You know, if someone's going to give you that, oh, you're a girl or I'm better than you, leave them be. They can have it. Nice, excellent musicians is what you want to play with. As woodwind players, I was going to say, we're only as good as the bed that's built behind us. So we respond. And if it's limited, we're going to play limited. So if you've got someone who's very versatile and can adjust and listen, then you can listen to them and respond, and all those colours will come out. So that's the best advice I can give you, is play with great players if you can.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's all we really have to ask for today. So thank you so much for joining us. Like amazing insight, especially from such an experienced player as well. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, and I hope to see you guys play in the future. Okay, good on you guys.
Nice to meet you, Martha.
You too, Jordan.
So good to see you again.
Good luck with
Bye.
everything. Bye.
Thanks, Martha. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for joining us, everyone, for another episode. That was so awesome. It was so great chatting with Martha.
It was like so insightful and so good to just talk to like such a influential figure in like
definitely,
especially for women as well.
Yeah, and someone who's had like a career in performing as well, which is like awesome, you know.
Yeah.
Just like we've had all sorts of like sides of the industry, but yeah, it's good to like know that you can perform out there.
Yeah. All right, well, good to see you again, Jess.
Yeah, good to see you, Jordan. We'll see you soon.
See you soon on our next episode.
J squared.